Hey everyone, NDC here, and if you've got a finished iOS app, it's time to launch it into the world. This is your complete guide for submitting your app to the App Store in 2025. From Xcode to App Store Connect, it's going live. We're going to walk you through app metadata, pricing, screenshots, and how to avoid most common mistakes to slow down the review process. So if you're ready to ship, let's go ahead and dive on in. You can also see I have a checklist here as well as timestamps in the video below, so feel free to jump to any relevant steps. So before we upload our app, I do want to preface that you do require an Apple developer account. So if you head over to developer.apple.com, links in the description, and you head on over to your account, you will need to ensure that you've signed up for the Apple Developer Program to have your app on the App Store. This is something that does require a payment. I believe it's $99 USD. If you're Canadian, $119 every single year. It should show in whatever region price you're in. I just want to preface this, and it's going to give you access to App Store Connect, Test Flight, and more. There's so many tools that do require an Apple Developer Program account. So double check to make sure this is active. There's some sensitive information here, so just blur it out, but just note you do need to have that premium membership. So if you're solo dev, an individual account is perfect. That's what I have on this one. If you're part of a team or working with a client, you might want an organization account instead. Next, you'll want to head over to appstoreconnect.apple.com. Link's also in the description. Once you're logged in, you can see that we have a little bit of a dashboard. So we have apps. This is where you're going to manage all your app metadata, builds, and more. The analytics, these are for things like app performance, engagement tracking, sales and trends, as well as reports. This is where you're going to be able to handle any income or subscription tracking, things like that. The payments and financial reports, if you're charging money for things, this is all your sales and financials reports. Business is any banking and agreements. Just to note, under the users and access, this is where you can add different team members as well. So if you do have an entire team with finance, marketing, the developers, app managers, and things like that, this is my individual account for developing, so I don't have anybody else added here. This is also where you can access the sandbox, any integrations. So I do have some sandbox test accounts. This is where you can add them if you need to do that, as well as integrations through different things like APIs, in-app purchases, any shared secrets, as well as Xcode Cloud if you are collaborating in a team. So these are perks of having that developer account. But let's go back to where we can talk about uploading your app under the apps section. Most of the time we're going to be in this apps tab, but if your payments aren't set up or agreements aren't accepted, your app can't go live. So double check under business if you need things like tax forms, bank accounts being added, and things like that. Okay, so if you want to upload a new app, you'll want to press on this plus button up here, and you can choose to upload a new app or a new app bundle. A bundle would be, say I have a game company and I'm bundling 3 paid games into 1 discounted collection. That's what that would be. So we have to fill in some things. We can choose which platforms it's going to be available for. My app is currently only going to be available for iOS, so iPhone, iPad, but you can choose macOS, tvOS, and visionOS as well. This is where you can choose the app name. This must be unique across the App Store. It also must be something that you're committed with because you cannot change your app name. There's also some general rule of thumbs. Say I was doing an app on the Bible, I wouldn't just call my app a Bible. That might be a reason that your name gets rejected. Make sure there's no profanity and things like that. And if your name is already taken, you will get a message before you can even create it saying, hey, this name has been taken. So the name of my app that I'm uploading is called Daily Devotions. You'll then want to choose the language. Well, my primary language is English Canada. Under here, the bundle ID, this is where you're going to see all of your different apps. I have a billion apps, okay, because I do a lot of these tutorials, right? And I'm going to find my daily devotions. If you can't find your app, you'll just need to register a new bundle ID in the certificates, identifiers, and profiles. You can click on this link real quick and it will open up your developer page. Then you're going to add an SKU. This is an internal identifier and anything works. So something that you can easily identify with. I'll typically just name this something like the app project and then my name. Then under user access, this is talking about those users that would be from this user and access tab. So if you have the people who are the testers, finance, app developer, different things like that, you can choose to limit the access. Just know there is some restrictions. Anybody with admin, finance, and reports cannot have any access limited. So if you're working on a team or for an organization, this is where you can limit some of those responsibilities. If you're working individually, full access is totally fine. All right, we have loaded up our app. We can see that we have version 1.0 prepare for submission, and we can choose to, once we have everything good to go, add this for review. And although we have our bundle, we first need to prepare and upload our build in Xcode. So I'm gonna go ahead and open my Xcode project. All right, I'm in my app. I've already tested it. I've polished it. This thing is ready to go to the App Store. Once you're assured that your app is ready to be uploaded to the App Store, we can go to the product up here, and we can go to the scheme. And we're then going to select the edit scheme button here. I'm going to click on the info tab, and under build configuration, instead of debug, we're then going to change this to be release. Because we're going to be archiving our app, it must be built for a real device. We're distributing it to real devices, not simulators after all. So I'm going to select my iPhone here, and then I'm going to go to the product, and under product, I'm going to press archive. You're going to see that's going to be building, making sure that everything's good to go. You'll then see our creation date, our version number. Just as a note, this version number, if you go to your app target here, under targets general, identity, this is where you can handle the version. So if you're updating it, version 1.2, 3, 4, 5, that's where you can change this number to keep track of your updates. All right, and this is where we can choose to distribute the app. You'll want to put it to App Store Connect. You can also choose to distribute it to Test Flight this way. Release testing, debugging, and things like that. If you're putting on the App Store connects where you want to go ahead and hit distribute. It's going to do some preparing. It's going to double check everything's okay. You might get prompted to enter your account information and things, but we should be good to go. We can see that it has successfully uploaded. If you have an error, it will tell you why. There's usually also an error code that you can just quickly copy and paste in Google. Otherwise, usually it's pretty good at explaining why. You can even press this button to show in App Store Connect. All right, let's go back to our apps. Let's go ahead and click on the one we're uploading today. And we're going to be filling out our app details. So I'm going to start off with our app information. We have our names, we have our subtitle. So our subtitle, this is something that should describe what our app does. Clearly in the first 2 lines, it shouldn't include any keywords. Naturally, don't stuff keywords or repeat the app name over and over, or use misleading claims. Apple actually may reject it because of that. So I've made mine a daily verse and reflection, almost like a tagline or slogan or brief description. Then you'll want to make sure you have the correct bundle ID. There's also a unique app ID. It's automatically generated. If there's any content rights you need to set up there, you can also choose the category that it's in. So I would say that my primary category would probably be lifestyle, and you have an optional one as well. I might make my secondary one, maybe I'll do education because it is about learning. You can also set an age rating, the encryption documentation. So if you have any encryption algorithms, I don't have any in mind. Otherwise, you would have to provide the documentation on your build. If you have any App Store server notifications, like a production server or sandbox server URL, I don't have any, but this is where you would set that up. If there's a shared secret, you can manage it here. Make sure you save any changes. Great, then we can click on our 1.0, or whatever version is you have here, prepared for submission. And this is where you can actually include screenshots. It also has the display sizes here, or you can choose to grab from the simulator the iPhone size or the iPad size. If you're unsure which iPhone that is, what you can do is you can do the 6.9-inch iPhone display. Do a quick Google search. It should be, let's see, the iPhone 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max. So what I would do is I would consider making some promotional images just in like Photoshop or something with the screenshots or any other screens that you would like. The other alternative that's very easy to do is in Xcode. You can go to the simulator and let's select the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Let's go ahead and build. And what you can do is you can actually use the screenshot button here. and that's going to save probably to your desktop, and it should be the correct size. So if I were to upload this first one, you can drag and drop, or you can choose the choose file button. Otherwise, we can kind of just drag and drop these ones into the view. You can also open the images with preview here. And under the markup tool, you can kind of select this one that looks like a bunch of squares, and you can even resize to the correct proportions if you need to. Something I would also suggest doing is if your app does support dark mode, I would suggest showing off both of those things. Real device images, by the way, not any stylized mockups. So you can include some promotional text, which informs the App Store viewers about any current updates or any features without requiring an updated submission as well. So you want to do like any promo text here, go for it. Otherwise, I would include a description. And this is where I'll talk about, just a brief introduction, maybe any slogans, as well as any features, or just like something to tell the users about my app. For the keywords here, you'll want to separate them by comma, kind of think of them like tags on YouTube. Do not include things like the app name. It's just going to help the results be a little bit more accurate. And you're going to separate them with an English comma, Chinese comma, or a mix of both. Just kind of think, what would someone search to find an app like this? Afterwards, you can include the support URL. So this is support information about your app. This can be about your app's product page. So if you have a website, I would include it there. You could even make like a little GitHub page if you'd like. There's also a marketing URL. This URL is visible on the App Store. You can also adjust the version here, but it should grab it. And if you do have a copyright here, but do not put a URL. And if you have a routing app coverage file, you can also put it here. So if your app is only supported in certain regions, you would upload that GeoJSON format. So let's say my app's only viable and available in Canada, and we can only have those regional things there. You would include that now. If you have an app clip, you can choose to include it here, as well as if it has an iMessage app component. Otherwise, we're going to want to add our build, and this is why we did that archiving in Xcode. So we can press this add build button, and we can see here that the first build is available here. We can see that is missing a compliance, but we can probably go ahead and figure out what that is here. It's because I don't have the app encryption documentation. Well, mine doesn't have any of the algorithms. So I'm going to go ahead and say none of the algorithms above. If you do have algorithms, you're going to want to include them there. So if your app has Game Center, you can enable it here. Mine doesn't have it enabled. It's not a multiplayer game app, unfortunately, but you can handle any of that information as well. For the app review information, if there is a sign-in required for your application, you will need to provide them with a username and password, as well as some contact information in case they do have any questions while they are reviewing your app. So I would just fill this out with your personal contact, or maybe like a work information, as well as any notes. So something I would suggest doing if you do have in-app purchases, call them out in the notes here. So when I uploaded WordSage, what I did was I actually gave them the answers for like the next week because they're all kind of determined. And I said, please, try some trial and error, but ensure that you actually get the answer so you can test that the end screen works and things like that, right? So if there's any hints, anything that you need to add in the notes section that need to be tested and verified, include them in the notes. There's already a sign-in field if you do need to include that information. If you're including any in-app purchases, please note them down here. They do test on Sandbox, so ensure that your in-app purchases will work in the Sandbox environment. And if there's any videos, PDFs, extensions that you want to include while uploading your app for the reviewer, you can also include it here. I've also included videos of things before and screen recordings of my actual iOS device. We then have the App Store release version. So you can either choose to manually release this version. So once it's approved, you can then choose a time to upload it. You can also automatically release this version. So as soon as it is approved, it'll go on the App Store. Or you can automatically release this after the review, no earlier than. So if you want it to be reviewed, hopefully approved, and then uploaded at a certain time, you have all three of these options. For mine, I'm just going to automatically release this version. When it gets approved, it'll just appear in the App Store. All right, so once you're done, make sure you come up to the top here and save your progress. Next, we're going to be talking about pricing and availability. Just as a note, to sell your app, you must have a paid application agreement. You can click this link here to learn a little bit more. So let's go ahead and add our pricing. Now, if you are going to be making your app completely free, just select 0.00 and you're good to go. Otherwise, my app is going to be 99 cents. I'm going to go ahead and press next. And you can actually even adjust the prices for different regions as well. You can see here for like Australia, it's $1.99. So if I wanted to manually override, if I go to Canada, okay, it's 99 cents, that's fine. So if you do want to make any of those adjustments, you can. Otherwise, it should kind of automatically adjust. We can go ahead and confirm that pricing. And you can also choose the app availability. So you can make it available in all countries or regions, specific, or publish it as a pre-order. I'm just going to make it available for all countries and regions. Just keep in mind, if you make this available, you can no longer choose it to be pre-ordered. Cool, and you can manage the availability here. So if for some reason I didn't want it to be available in Great Britain, I can adjust that. You can also change the tax category, but I would just personally leave it under the App Store software unless you have a reason to change it. You can also make it available or unavailable on Apple Silicon Maps, as well as the Apple Vision Pro. It would also tell you if it's compatible or incompatible, so I might as well just leave it on, although I haven't developed for the Vision Pro yet. And you can even choose to make this a private custom app on an Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager. So if you develop something for a school board, make sure that you select it as private. Otherwise, I would just leave it on public. Under the monetization tab, you can also handle any in-app purchases. In-app purchases can be something that's very difficult to set up. I plan on doing a video in the future. Otherwise, I would actually check out Revenue Cat for some help with in-app purchases. The subscriptions, also, I would highly recommend Revenue Cat until I make a video on it. And then I'm going to self-promote, obviously. Okay, and then you also have the featuring nominations. This is where you can actually get featured on the App Store. So you can tell Apple about your plans and different things about your app, and the editorial team will take in time and consideration if they want to feature your app or not. So once you're all good to go on your app, you can go to the Prepare for Submission tab and click on Add for Review. If there's any errors or issues, it will pop up here. So in my case, I still need to... My screenshots are still being uploaded, no worries, and I must provide copyright information in the app that I'm adding, so I can go to my app information and add any copyright information. Alrighty, so once I've resolved all those issues, we can, double check our app version, we have any app events, custom products. Otherwise, we can press this Submit to App Review. It's going to have our application go through the review process. In my experience, I think my first app, I got a message back within 24 hours, and actually I had to fix a couple things. Once I fixed those things, I resubmitted it, and I was able to get it approved on the next try, which was amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this app to review, and you'll see that it's submitted and waiting to be reviewed. You can still make a couple changes until Apple starts the review. You should get an email to whatever contact information or your developer account that you've put in once they're finished with the first round of reviews. If your app gets rejected the first time, don't freak out. They will often include a detailed list of things you need to fix, as well as articles. If there's any issues they found, you can even send them a message for any clarification as well. Hey everyone, some time has passed and we can see we have the green check mark and it says that it is ready for distribution. If they found any errors or issues with their app, there'd be like a little caution sign saying not ready to distribute, and you can see the reasons as to why. If your submission does not get approved, you can submit the application again through the review process. You just might need to, upload a new version of your app or change some things in the description depending on what that error is. Otherwise, we can see that it's ready for distribution. If you have scheduled your app to go out at a certain time, or if you had manually release, you would then have to choose when to release it once it's been approved. So if you do need to update your application, you can see here next to the iOS app, there is a plus button, and you would add a new version. So if we have version 2, 1.2 or something like that, you would hit create and you would fill out the information again and you would just submit another review. At the bottom of your app information page, you can view on App Store in order to get the link. Otherwise, we can see it on the App Store here, Daily Devotions. And you can kind of see how our gallery of images from the screenshots we took looks amazing. So with that being said, I want to say good luck to everybody. I hope that your app review process goes well and you're able to get your apps on the App Store. But hopefully this guide made the app submission process a lot more smoother for you. So dream big, code bigger, and I hope you have an amazing day.